Have you ever sat in that heavy silence at a family dinner? Here on Women's Life Stories, we retell those moments honest, everyday, sometimes controversial. Every story is a mirror. Subscribe, join the conversation, and maybe find a little healing. The kitchen was the only warm room in the house. Butter and brown sugar hung in the air, heavy and sweet. I had flour up to my wrists, a smear on my cheek I could not find, and a crusted fork in the sink. The pecan pie was a small victory after a long day. I cut a narrow slice. The nuts clicked under the knife like tiny stones. I placed the piece on the amber glass plate my mother once loved. Depression glass, thin, pretty, a survivor. Brianna walked in heels, clipped sharp on the tile. She saw the plate in my hand. Her mouth tightened polite for half a second, then not at all. "You took the last slice," she said, no question. I glanced to the counter. The pie tin was empty, crumbs in a ring. The oven hummed. The house groaned in a Columbus winter way. My hands were sticky with butter and sugar. I wiped them on my apron and tried to lift the plate to show her how small the piece was. To say something gentle. It did not matter. She stepped in close. Her perfume was sweet and heavy. That was for Jason. "I did not know," I said. "I can bake again. The pecans are still in the pantry." "You never ask," she said. "You just take." From the living room, the television murmured a game. Jason did not turn the volume down. His laugh came and went with the commentators. "I did not take," I said. My voice sounded softer than I wanted. "I live here." Her hand came quick. She snatched the plate from me, then flung it down. The glass shattered on the tile, bright and vicious. A piece slid under the fridge. Another nicked my bare heel. I felt the sting before I saw the blood. The sound shifted the air. Jason finally stood in the doorway. He looked past the glittering wreck on the floor and fixed on my sticky hands. Then he looked at Brianna and his shoulders sank. "We talked about this, Mom," he said. His voice was tired. "You have to ask before you take things out of the fridge." The words echoed. Ask before taking. A yellow sticky note with those very words was taped to the stainless door. There were other notes too. One on the remote drawer. Ask before watching. One on the upstairs bathroom door. Ask before using. "I did not know it was for you," I said to him. "I made dinner. The roast is resting. I was going to plate." Brianna stepped over the glass without looking. She opened the drawer where they kept the remotes. She checked them, closed it again. Her eye swept my place at the end of the table. A folded cloth napkin, a chipped mug with weak tea. "You can clean it up," she said. Jason moved toward me like he might help. He stopped when Brianna shook her head. He looked at my foot. There was a bright spot of red. He glanced away. "I will get the dustpan," I said. I went to the pantry, past the lines of labeled jars, and a basket of onions that always made my eyes smart. The dustpan was on the top shelf. I had to stretch. My shoulder burned. When I came back, I crouched on my good knee and swept the pieces into a neat fan. The glass clicked in the pan. Thin, pretty, now a hazard. I found a small zip bag by the bread box and slid the largest shard inside. It was the size of my palm. It caught the kitchen light and threw it back in a thin blade. "Why are you keeping that?" Brianna said. "It was my mother's," I said. She laughed, a short sound. "Was?" Jason rubbed his forehead. In the living room, the game shouted and then cut to a commercial. He went in there instead of staying in the kitchen. I kept sweeping. The tile left cold on the skin of my heel. The blood had slowed. The next morning, the house woke early and not kind. Brianna put a stack of papers on the table, smooth white, heavy stock, not a Post-it in sight. Jason stood behind her like a post. "It is a release," Brianna said. "It will make things clear and easy. We need the room. You will be more comfortable somewhere else." "Who wrote it?" I asked. "An attorney," Jason said. He did not say the name. The words on the first page were clean. Voluntary departure, waiver of claims, hold harmless. I asked for my glasses. Brianna did not move. I found them myself beside the sink under a dish towel that was still damp at the corner. "You have 30 days to find an apartment," Jason said. "We will help you pack. We will cover the first month's utilities if you need it." "Utilities," I said. The word was small in my mouth. Brianna slid a pen across the table. She did not sit. She smelled like salon hairspray and coffee syrup. I held the pen like a strange tool. I tried to read each line and lost the thread. The ink bled a little where my hand shook. "Jason," I said. I looked up at him. "We bought this house when you were in middle school, your father and I. We put the down payment. We painted your room a bad orange, and then we painted it again. It is in my name now," he said. He looked at the window, not at me. "You know that." The upstairs bathroom door had a fresh scratch around the knob. Someone had locked it from the inside too hard and missed with the key. I had heard it the night before. The the metal scraping. Now the mark shone in daylight like a small wound. I signed where Brianna tapped. First page, third page, final page. My full name that did not look like mine. Martha Caldwell. The pen left a ridge on the paper that I could feel with my finger. Brianna gathered the documents with quick hands. She put them in a manila folder. "We will get you a copy," she said. 30 days. It is better for everyone. The chime on the fridge blinked. A paper with a past due stamp hung under a cow magnet. Electric. Jason looked at it, then pretended he had not. He took his keys from the hook by the door and slipped them into his pocket. The sound was bright, cold. He never missed that sound. When they left for work, I stood in the quiet kitchen. I rinsed my teacup and set it on the rack. I cleaned the line of blood on the tile with a little diluted bleach. The smell was sharp and clean. I washed the dusty streak off the window over the sink. Outside Cedar Ridge had the gray of mid-January. Bare maple branches, a mailbox with a dent, a stray plastic bag caught on a shrub. I went upstairs to the small room that had been Jason's study. My bed was neatly made, the blanket folded at sharp corners. The drawer where I kept my picture of my brother Patrick was open a fraction. I had not left it that way. I closed it. I took the picture out and held it. He was 20 in the photo. He had a bad mustache and a grin that made you like him anyway. On the back in pencil, he had once written, "Keep your keys." I found a cardigan that still smelled like lavender sachet. I tucked the zip bag with the shard of glass into the pocket. It made a gentle weight against my hip. I took my purse from the hook and slipped in my phone, my glasses case, and a small notebook that had a list of grocery prices from the summer we thought peaches would be cheap. Before I left, I looked at the upstairs bathroom door. The scratch around the keyhole caught the light. I looked at the remote drawer. The little lock showed a clean thumbprint. The sticky notes on the fridge were all straight. Someone had pressed them down again to make sure they stayed. I stood at the back door and felt the cold seeping through the sill. I lifted my own small ring of keys. The metal was cool and familiar against my palm. I closed my hand around them. I put them in my coat pocket and zipped it all the way. Outside, the air bit clean and thin. The sky had the chalky white that comes before noon when the sun refuses to be brave. My breath lifted and vanished. I walked down the path where the garden would be in April, then to the sidewalk. The house looked the same from the street. It always would. I took out my phone and scrolled to a name I had not used in too long. The line rang twice, then once more. A voice answered with warmth that settled through the cold. "Avery Brooks," he said. "Avery," I said. I kept my voice steady. "It is Martha. I need to know what I still have." Avery's office sat on a narrow brick street in German Village that still smelled like last night's rain. The sign on his window was hand-painted old gold on green, the kind that made you trust the owner before you knew him. Inside, a radiator clicked and hissed, coffee steamed in a heavy ceramic mug. Files waited in neat stacks that had not learned how to sag. He stood when I came in. Gray at the temples now, same careful eyes. He took my coat and draped it on a chair. The heat found the feeling in my hands again. I placed my purse on the corner of his desk and sat where he gestured. "You sounded shaken," he said. "I signed papers," I said. "They want me out in 30 days. He did not react right away. He opened a drawer, took out a slim folder with my name typed on a tab. Inside, he had copies of old deeds and a neat sheet that mapped the way the house had moved through our family. He touched a paragraph with the tip of his finger. "When you transferred title to Jason, you kept a right," he said. "It is a life estate, right of occupancy. You had the legal right to live there for the rest of your life. Any waiver would need to be clear and fair, and a court would look at circumstances." "How fair is fair?" I asked. "Not like a kitchen table with a stack of paper and no counsel," he said. "Not with a power imbalance that is obvious to anyone with eyes." He closed the folder, then opened another. This one carried a blue overnight label from Texas. A firm in Austin had sent notarized documents with embossed seals that caught the light like fish scales. "I received this yesterday," he said. "I did not call yet because I wanted to see you in person." He slid the packet across. The weight of it felt different from bills or birthday cards. I read the first page and stopped. The words were plain and dry. Notice of death. Last will and testament. Beneficiary. The letter on top was in a hand I knew, slanted, a little stubborn, not in a hurry. Patrick had written it 6 months earlier. He started with my name. He wrote about leaving and staying, about money sent and time given. He wrote one line in pencil at the bottom, the way he always did when he wanted me to look up at him from the page. "Keep your keys, kid." I put my hand on the paper and kept it there. The radiator clicked. The coffee made a ring on the coaster. Outside, a dog barked and then kept quiet. How much, I asked. Avery named a figure that did not fit inside my chest. He began to describe the pieces. A self-storage business off a highway outside Austin. 2 small strip malls with steady tenants. Accounts with cash that moved in monthly rhythms. He spoke in a level voice, not to sell it to me, but to make it real. It is all clean, he said. He set it up to travel without trouble. I put the letter back in its envelope. I pressed the flap down. My hand stopped shaking. I do not want Jason and Brianna to know, I said. Discretion is possible, he said. We move everything here. Open accounts keep your address as the correspondent's address. We can act as the point of contact. We do not speak to anyone you do not approve. I want you to do that, I said. I want you to help me protect what I have. He nodded once. He slid me a glass of water that had a single ice cube in it. The cube cracked when it met the room's warmth. On my way home, the German village streets offered their usual comforts. A bakery window fogged with sugar and heat. A woman pulled a wagon with a child tucked in blankets. The cold woke my cheeks and kept my thoughts straight. In the kitchen at Cedar Ridge, the notes on the fridge had multiplied. A yellow one said, "Milk on top shelf, ask first." Another said, "Do not use the upstairs bath after 8. The past due electric bill was still there, red stamped thick as lipstick. A credit card bill lay open under a magnet shaped like a cow that had lost one horn. The interest rate was printed in small type at the bottom. My glasses found it on the second try. Dinner that night was roast leftover and mashed potatoes warmed in a pan with milk. I kept my place at the end of the table. Jason watched highlights on his phone between bites. Brianna sat straight and did not look at the pie tin, now clean, and turned upside down on the counter like a lid on an empty pot. I ran into Mrs. Alvarez this afternoon, I said. Her cousin died. She needs to sell a little house on Maple Street. 2 bedrooms, old porch needs small fixes. She wants it gone fast. She told me I could have it for 20 if I can bring cash. Brianna looked up with the speed of a bird that hears the wrong rustle. 20 what? 20,000, I said. I have 5 saved. If I had 15 more, I could be out of your way by the 1st of the month. I would pay back slowly. My check comes on the 3rd. I can sign something simple so we are clear. Jason put his phone face down. He chewed, swallowed, drank water that did not wash anything away. A home equity loan for 15, I said. The bank knows you. The payment would be small. I know it is a lot to ask. It would make this quick. Brianna's face softened a shade that looked like relief. You would move to Maple, she said. You would not need to use our bathroom. I would manage on my own, I said. It is a small place, easy to keep clean. Jason looked at the electric bill. He moved it under a takeout menu as if that would help. He nodded once the way he did when he did not want to be the person who said the first word. We can talk to the bank, he said, if the numbers work. That night, the walls admitted secrets the way they always did. Thin drywall, old studs. Voices traveled. Water pipes knocked. In their bedroom, Brianna kept her voice low at first. Then it rose and fell in short waves. She said 20 total. She puts in 5. We lend 15. She gives us $300 a month from her check. I can run that timetable in my head. 5 years. We are done. We will not have to buy her groceries. The electric will drop. We will not lose the guest bath to her shower fog every morning. Jason answered in a tired tone. We should not talk about her like that. You want her here for 5 more winters, she said. You want to put towels over her floors because she drips bleach. You want to tell your boss you cannot stay late because dinner will burn. Silence pressed in. I lay still on my narrow bed and stared at the street lamp light drawing a square on the ceiling. The bank had new floors that pretended to be wood and lights that pretended to be sunlight. A woman with perfect eyeliner spelled Jason's last name twice and then found his file. Paper stacked. He signed where she pointed. He smiled politely and did not use extra words. His face looked like it did when he paid for a new set of tires. I waited in a chair with a plant behind it. A muted screen showed a beach where no one we knew would ever swim. When Jason came back, he did not look at me, but he nodded a little. It was done. At Avery's office, the work sounded like tapping keys and quiet printers. He set up a company. He slid a form to me with a name across the top that looked like a street where numbers make sense. Balance Street Recovery. He asked if that suited me. I said yes. He called the bank we chose and opened a business checking account. He wrote the number on a small card and tucked it into a folder with my name. We did not raise our voices. We did not make big gestures. We signed in blue ink and he stamped where stamps were needed. He poured fresh coffee and the smell covered the smell of paper and toner. In the afternoon, a man named Mac Rivera met me at a diner that had been cracked along the seams for 50 years and never once tried to hide it. He slid into the booth across from me and took off a knit cap that had seen worse winters. His badge in another life was now a rectangle of shiny plastic with his name and a phone number. "What do you need?" he asked. To know what my son and his wife owe, and to whom I said, "Credit cards. Car, house, any store cards, anything hidden. I need dates and amounts. I need copies where you can get them." He studied me for half a second, then nodded. He did not ask why. He wrote as I spoke. He asked what time the mail usually came. He asked if they used the same bank for everything. He asked for their full names and dates of birth and the last address they had before this one. He slid the check I wrote into his jacket without looking at the number. "You will get what you asked for," he said. At the teller window, Jason counted out time on his fingertips, while the woman behind the glass moved money from one place to another on a screen we could not see. The amount that landed was clean, 15 from the bank, 5 from my own account, 20 in one line that would be easy to point to. The receipt paper warmed under my thumb. I folded it and slipped it into my wallet. Brianna sent a text that read all caps good. She added a smile that looked like a closed mouth. On the bus home, the city slid by in slow browns and grays. A boy in a red coat pressed his face to the glass. A man in a faded army jacket slept with his chin to his chest. I held my purse under my arm and watched the small houses on Maple Pass in a blur. There was one with a porch that sagged and one with a mailbox shaped like a fish. One had a blue tarp on a section of roof. You could live in any of them if you learned their habits. At the house, Brianna stood in the doorway of the room where I slept. She had a measuring tape in one hand. She pulled it across the wall and let it retract. The strip snapped into its case. She smiled at the empty space as if it had already agreed with her. 2 bars here, she said to no one, shoe racks below. I set my purse down on my bed and smoothed the blanket with the back of my hand. The cardigan still smelled faintly of lavender. The zip bag with the shard of glass lay in the pocket where I had left it. It made a small, steady weight that reminded me where it was. In the kitchen, the sticky notes held to the steel like flags that would not lower. The magnet with the cow still missed a horn. The electric bill had slipped a fraction as if the glue was tired. The chime beeped when someone opened the fridge. It was not my hand on the handle. I took a pencil from the jar by the phone and wrote 2 words on my small notebook. Maple Street. Then I placed the notebook under the napkin at my place at the table. The paper made a light whisper against the wood that only I could hear. Avery called first thing. His voice held the kind of care that keeps you from dropping the phone. "It is all cleared," he said. "I would like you to come in." German Village felt colder than last time. The bricks were damp, the air a thin edge. Inside, the heat was steady and the room smelled like coffee and paper. Avery had a short stack ready. He touched each item like a musician tuning an instrument. "Your brother's assets are in place," he said. "Accounts opened here, transfers recorded, titles set to your name, no flags." He showed me the numbers in clean rows. The figures had a quiet weight. He let them sit for a breath, then moved to the folder with the green tab. "We also made progress on what you asked," he said. "We have the credit cards, 12,000, the car loan, 8,000, the new equity line. 15. The mortgage holder is receptive to a transfer upon proof of performance. I expect movement soon. There is no need to rush it today." He slid a set of notices across the desk. He had printed them on heavy paper. There were dates and account numbers and balances. At the bottom of each there was a line that read Assigner and another that read Assigné. Balance Street Recovery was typed where it should be. "You will need a phone line," he said. "A receptionist, a person who can speak firmly without heat." "Use your office," I said, "for now." "We will," he said. "We will do everything by the book." His window showed a cat crossing a ledge outside. Its tail was straight like a small flag. The cat moved with a confidence it had not earned. I signed where Avery marked. The pen was smooth and ordinary. The ink dried without shine. On the bus back to Cedar Ridge, my hands found the cardigan pocket, the zip bag, the shard of amber glass. I pressed a corner against my palm until I felt the point and then let up. The sky sat low over the roofs like a hand that does not lift. At dinner, the roast came to the table for a second time. The potatoes held lines where the spoon had gone through them earlier. Jason ate with his eyes fixed on nothing. Brianna tapped her nails in a small rhythm against her water glass, then stopped. "Mrs. Alvarez called," I said. Brianna looked up. "The Maple Street house," I said. "There is a problem. Title issues, a tax lien she did not know about. Her cousin had debts that follow the property. The notary is advising against closing. It is not safe." Jason's fork slowed. He set it down. "The money," Brianna said. "She can return 5, I said. The rest is tied up in a payment she made to stop a different creditor. It is possible she will get it back later, but not soon. I'm sorry. I should have known this could happen. Brianna stared as if a pane of glass had dropped between us. Jason rubbed his temple with his thumb and middle finger like he was erasing a mark. I took that equity line on the house, he said. The payment starts next month. I know, I said. I will help with what I can. My check is $300. I can give you that every month if I stay here. I can cook and keep the place and not add to your bills. We can tear up the waiver. We can make an arrangement that makes sense. Brianna's chair scraped the floor. She pushed back without standing. Her face flushed, then went pale again. Jason looked at her, then at me, then at the ceiling like a neutral third party lived up there. You said you would move out, Brianna said. You said you would be gone. I said I would if the little house worked, I said. It does not. There is a different reality now. She stood and left the table without her plate. The water glass left a ring. Jason stared at the ring like it could tell him what to do. I do not know how to fix this, he said. We will eat the food we have, I said. We will keep the lights on. We will get through a month at a time. I'm not asking for anything you do not have. He nodded in a tired, slow way. He carried his plate to the sink and left it without water in it. He went down the hall and the television came on. The sound floated back as if the house had its own lungs. The night traveled in bits. A heater cycle, a car door outside, pipes that talked to each other. In their room, their voices rose and sank, then rose again. The walls were thin. The words came through clear enough. She stays 5 years for that mistake, Brianna said. She gives us $300 and costs us the rest. This is not a solution. She is my mother, Jason said. She is not a child, Brianna said. She eats our food. She uses our hot water. She never asks. You said you would handle this. You keep turning to me like I have a lever. I took the loan, he said. I cannot undo it. You can sell the TV, she shot back. You can sell the second car. You can stop paying for game subscriptions like a teenager. Silence. Then the sound of a drawer, the sound of something soft thrown against something hard. The argument slid sideways into old grievances that did not belong to this night. I rolled on my pillow and watched the rectangle of light on my ceiling move to the right, then to the left, when a car passed outside. The next morning, the doorbell rang at almost 9. The sound was exact and formal. Not a friend, not a neighbor. A man stood on the porch with a navy jacket and a clipboard. His breath showed in the cold. He asked for a signature and handed over a white envelope with green edges. The paper felt official and heavy. He left before I could ask who he was. 10 minutes later, the bell rang again. The second man wore a brown jacket and a cap with a company patch that looked almost real. He handed a similar envelope. He left without words. In the next hour, there were 2 more. The stack on the entry table rose by slow inches. I set a mug for Jason that he did not touch. Brianna paced and checked the window as if there might be a 5th man ready to step out of a hedge. When Jason came in from the garage, he wiped his hands on a rag and stopped at the sight of the envelopes. What is all that, he asked. Certified mail, Brianna said. They asked for your name on each. He tore one open careful at first, then rough. His eyes moved fast. He flipped to the second page, then back to the first. His mouth worked before sound came. It is the Visa, he said. They sold the account. They want payment in full. 12,000, 30 days. A company bought it. Balance Street Recovery Street. He opened another. The car loan. 8,000. A demand for immediate payment based on transfer terms that allowed acceleration when risk increased. The language was cold and efficient. He did not need it to be warmer. The third was the equity line. 15,000 due. A line in bold explained that the assignment allowed the new holder to call the balance when certain conditions were met. A second bold line told him not to send payment to the original lender. He did not open the fourth right away. He set his hands on the table and leaned. He looked like a man bracing on deck when he could not yet see the wave. Brianna picked up the last envelope and sliced it open with a butter knife. She read aloud slower than she normally spoke. Notice of assignment of mortgage, she said. Notice of right to accelerate. Demand for cure within 30 days. Amount due. 90,000. She let the paper fall back to the table as if the sheet weighed more than paper. This is a joke, she said. We pay on time. Jason rubbed his face with both hands as if he could push it back into a better shape. He found the phone number, the one printed under a small box that said, "Contact for questions," and called. He put the phone on speaker. He did not take a breath first. A receptionist answered. Her voice was even and careful. She asked for his name and account numbers. He read them from the papers. She put him on hold. The music was not music. It was a tone that repeated without apology. A man came on and introduced himself as Mr. Smith. He spoke the way lawyers speak when they already know the end of the conversation. He confirmed the information that Jason had given. He read a paragraph about rights and remedies in a tone that was not cruel. I pay every month, Jason said. I have not missed. You cannot demand everything overnight. You have not missed, the man said. We have conducted a risk analysis. We have the right to call the balances based on that analysis and the terms of assignment. Your recent home equity draw, your revolving balances, your ratio of debt to income, and your pattern of borrowing to pay for necessities all inform that analysis. You do not know my life, Jason said. His voice cracked on the last word. We know what the numbers show, the man said. You have 30 days to pay or to arrange for acceptable terms. If that does not happen, we begin legal action. That action includes foreclosure where applicable and other remedies in law and equity. Jason swallowed. The word hung in the kitchen like steam that will not dissipate. Foreclosure, he said. Those are the terms, the man said. If you would like, you can speak to a supervisor about options within the 30-day window. Jason ended the call without transferring. He sat down hard enough to make the chair complain. He pressed his fingertips to his eyelids and held them there. Brianna walked to the sink and turned the water on and off without using it. The sound was a click rather than a rush. She picked up the first envelope again and read the name of the company out loud, as if sounding it would make it less solid. Balance Street Recovery, she said. Who are they? Jason looked at the stack and then looked at me. I kept my place at the end of the table. The cardigan pocket warmed the shard against my hip. I reached for my chipped mug and wrapped both hands around it. The tea had gone cool. The kitchen held still quiet except for the clock's small tick and the refrigerator humming to itself. The envelopes stayed on the table like a new kind of centerpiece. Brianna put them in a straight line, then broke the line again. Jason drank water he did not want. The glass left a damp ring that spread and then stopped. I need both of you to sit down, I said. They did not move at first. Then they did. Brianna took the chair nearest the kitchen light. Jason chose the one with a view of the backyard, as if there were something out there that could help. We are going to settle what can be settled, I said. Today. Jason nodded. He breathed in and let it out slow. Brianna crossed her arms. The sleeves of her sweater pulled tight against her wrists. I set my purse on the table and took out a large envelope. The paper had the texture of something meant to last. I placed it where they could both see. I did not open it yet. I set beside it a smaller stack with tabs. The tabs were green like the muffled color of old money. I need you to listen, I said. Then you will look, then you will speak. Jason nodded again. Brianna looked at the ceiling and then back at me. I opened the first envelope. The embossed seals caught the kitchen light and flashed. I slid the documents across the table. The first page said notice in heavy type. The second said last will and testament. The signature on the last page looked like a road that had taken its time. My brother Patrick died, I said. He lived in Texas. He wrote a will. He left what he had to me. Jason read a line, then another. He turned a page with careful fingers. Brianna did not pick her copy up. She stared at the seal like it might blink. I pulled a letter from the same envelope and placed it on top. He had written it himself. The pencil at the bottom held a single line that sounded like him. Keep your keys, kid. Jason looked up. How much are we talking about? He asked. He kept his voice level, but his hands were not. It is more than you think, I said. He did well. He prepared. There is no trouble in what he left. Brianna found her own voice. If you have this money, then you can pay these demands, she said. You can make this go away. I did not answer. Not yet. I opened the second stack. The green tabs bent and sprang back. I set 3 documents on the table. Assignment of account. Assignment of loan. Notice of assignment of mortgage. The name Balance Street Recovery sat at the bottom with my attorney's address under it. Jason looked from one page to the next. He found our home's address in the mortgage paper without help. He went still. Brianna leaned forward so far her necklace touched the table. What is this? She asked. These are assignments, I said. The credit cards, the car loan, the equity line you took last week, the mortgage balance, the holder has changed. To who? Brianna said. Her voice came out thin. To a company I own, I said. Balance Street Recovery. She made a small sound, not quite a laugh. No, that is not possible. Jason found the contact page with the Columbus address and the familiar German village street under it. He rubbed his thumb over the ink. He looked at me, then at the papers, then back at me again. You bought our debt, he said. All of it. Yes, I said. The refrigerator hummed. The clock ticked. A car passed outside and changed the light on the wall for a second. Brianna sat back. Her face had a sheen that looked like sweat. Why? She asked. Why would you do that? I did not answer with a paragraph. I let Jason's eyes find the pie tin on the counter clean and turned upside down. I let him see the faint scratch around the bathroom keyhole in his mind. I let the yellow notes on the fridge do some of my speaking. Ask before taking. Ask before using. You broke a plate that belonged to my mother, I said. Then you put paper in front of me and told me to sign. You told me I would be more comfortable somewhere else. You attached a deadline. You did not call my attorney. You did not ask if I had one. Jason pressed his lips together. He looked like he was trying to stand on ice that kept shifting under him. You did not need to do this, he said. We could have worked this out. You had that chance, I said. In this kitchen, yesterday, and 100 times before. Brianna swallowed. Her throat worked hard. You are going to throw us out, she said. You are going to take the house. No, I said. I'm going to give you terms. They both looked at me then like I had used a word that did not belong to our family. You owe $125,000, I said. You will pay $1,000 each month. You will pay on the 1st. You will pay by bank transfer. No cash, no excuses. Brianna shook her head. We cannot, she said. That would take everything we have. Jason did not say cannot. He put his hand flat on the table and looked at it like it belonged to a man who made choices. If you are late, I said I will increase the rate. If you are late twice, I will act on the mortgage. Those are the rules of the paper. I did not write them. I can use them. He nodded once. He did not look up. He stayed with the grain of the table under his palm. There are house rules too, I said. Starting now, you will not lock the upstairs bathroom when I need it. You will not hide the remotes. You will not put notes on appliances for me. You will not speak to me in a way you would not want recorded and played out loud. If you forget any of that, the rate goes up. The paper allows what it allows. Brianna put her hands in her lap and laced her fingers together like she used to do in church. Her voice had lost its edge. You are punishing us, she said. I am setting the balance, I said. You will get used to it. Jason lifted his eyes. They were wet, but not weak. Mom, he said. He did not say anything else for a moment. Then he did. I am sorry. He did not offer a reason. He did not offer a plan. He left the words on the table between us like a small wrapped box. I reached into my cardigan pocket and took out the zip bag. The shard inside caught the light again. I set it on the table, then picked it back up. I held it for a second. It was cool and smooth along one edge, sharp on the other. I walked to the stainless trash can by the island and let it go. The piece hit the bottom and gave a clear sound. Not a crash, a clean note that finished when it should. No one spoke for a few breaths. The kitchen made tiny house sounds. The refrigerator cycled. The heating vent whispered. Outside, a crow called from the maple that had no leaves. I will need keys, I said. The set you keep for the upstairs bath. The set for the garage door. The set for the back gate. Jason took his ring out of his pocket and unhooked 3 small keys. He set them on the table. Brianna hesitated, then went to a drawer and brought a single brass key that had been filed down to fit an old lock and set it by the others. I put them in my hand. They were cool and a little greasy. They made a soft chime when they met. I will keep these, I said. Brianna leaned forward. Do you want us to leave right now, she asked. No, I said. You will stay in your rooms. You will keep your jobs. You will make your payments. You will stop pretending I am a guest. The words did not raise the temperature in the room. They set it where it needed to be. Jason picked up a pen and wrote the first of the month in the corner of the electric bill. He circled it twice. He put the pen down and sat back like the action had cost him energy. Brianna stood and went to the sink. She turned the tap and filled a glass. She drank and swallowed and drank again. She wiped the edge of the glass with her thumb. She put it down without looking at me. You could have told us about your brother, she said. You could have told us and asked for help. I did not need your help, I said. I needed your respect. She nodded without agreeing. She walked to the living room and stood there without turning on the television. Jason stayed where he was. He looked smaller in the chair than he had in the doorway last night. I gathered the papers and placed them back in their envelopes. I slid them into my purse. I left the inheritance letter at the bottom. I did not need to look at it again to know what it said. Before I left the kitchen, I touched the sticky note on the fridge with the word milk on it. I pressed the corner flat, then peeled the note away and folded it once, then again. I put it in my pocket with the keys. The magnet with the cow sagged without its job. I pushed it higher on the stainless steel and left it there. In the hallway, the entry table held a bowl for mail and a dish for loose change. I put the keys in my pocket, not in the dish. I stood for a second in the quiet that comes when a noise has left the room. I opened the door to the porch and let a slice of cold in. The air smelled like ice and dry leaves. My breath lifted. It was a good sound. In the living room, Jason stood. He took one step toward me, then stopped. He did not ask for a hug. He did not offer one. He looked steady and new and older by an inch. We will make the payment, he said. I know, I said. He nodded and sat down. He took the top envelope from the table and slid it under a calendar with dogs on it. He did not look at Brianna. She did not look at him. In the small room that had been his study, my bed waited with its clean lines and lavender scent that had faded a little. My cardigan hung on the back of the chair. I set my purse on the desk and took out the letter Patrick had written. I did not read it. I put it in the drawer and closed it. I sat for a minute with my hands on my knees and felt the weight of the keys in my pocket. When I went back downstairs, the table had been cleared. The ring of water where Jason's glass had been was gone. Someone had wiped it with a paper towel and thrown the towel away. The trash can lid was closed. The shard rested at the bottom where no one could cut themselves on it. I picked up the pie tin from the counter and set it in the cabinet with the baking sheets. It made a soft metal sound. I opened the drawer with the remotes, then closed it. The lock had no keys in it now. It looked harmless. I turned off the kitchen light. The room sank into a quieter color. The hallway light kept enough. The house held still. On the hook by the door, my small ring of keys looked like it had grown. The new brass and nickel sat against the old ones that had already learned my pocket. I took the ring in my hand and felt the cool weight. I slid it back on the hook and let it hang. The sound it made when the metal met the wood was simple and right. Morning held the house in a soft light. The kitchen of the place in Bexley took the sun and gave it back across white tile and a long farmhouse table. Fresh coffee rose from the mug in thin blue steam. A plate of toast had gone butter glossy. Rachel set down a little jar of marmalade and smiled the way people do when they have already done 3 things before you came downstairs. "Sleep all right," she said. "Very well," I said. Mail sat in a neat stack. The envelopes were thick. The paper said thank you in different fonts. Silver Keys Foundation wrote in a hand that leaned to the right. Maple Street Homes sent a photograph of a front porch with paint that would not peel this year. Balance Books reported a column of numbers that lined up with a small, satisfying click. I read each once. I left them on the table in a row. Avery's update came on my phone with a single line in the subject. Payment received. The transfer posted at midnight 1,000, even the memo identically worded as the months before. He included an attachment with a simple ledger. 6 tidy entries, no notes needed. I walked out to the patio with my mug and felt the air before the day's heat. The roses had new leaves that looked like coins. A bee nosed at a bloom and then changed its mind. The city woke in a low hush. Somewhere a truck backed up and stopped beeping. When I went back inside, I opened the small safe in the pantry and took out the company book. Balance Street had a blue cover that had already learned the shape of my hands. I drew a line under the last entry and wrote the date again. I ticked the small box I left beside the total. It made a faint sound like paper agreeing. In the afternoon, I drove to Cedar Ridge. The maples along the street were full and loud with birds. The house wore the same face from the curb. Inside the kitchen had fewer notes. The magnet with the cow had a partner, now a rooster that did not look cheap. The upstairs bathroom door had been repainted. The scratch around the keyhole lived under new white. Brianna opened the door. Her hair was pulled back, no perfume. A faint smell of mint toothpaste sat in the hall like a polite guest. She stepped aside so I could pass. Jason stood in the kitchen with his lunch pail on the table. He wore the jacket from the second job he had taken. The reflective strip caught the light. Avery had drafted a right to inspect that fit inside the terms. I looked over what I needed to see: the mortgage statements on the counter, the utility bills current, the letter from the car lien holder marked paid. Jason handed me their receipt folder without sighing. Brianna stood with her hands at her sides and did not interrupt. We did not talk about pie. We did not talk about the night the glass broke. Jason set a fresh envelope on the table. He had written the date on the front in block letters. He did not need to. The money had already moved. The gesture said he understood how to make a habit visible. "Thank you," I said. He nodded. He kept his face straight and steady. There was a quiet under his shoulders I had not seen before. Brianna cleared her throat. "Can I speak to you?" she said. "Just me." We stepped onto the back stoop. The yard smelled like cut grass and damp earth. A neighbor's dog barked twice and quieted. Brianna watched the yard the way people do when they want room to sort their words. "I do not have excuses," she said. I said things I cannot say again. I acted like the house could only hold 2 adults. I was wrong about what I thought power was. I let the air move around us. A robin dropped to the fence and tilted its head at the 2 of us, like it had a question it would not ask. "I am learning how to work," she said. "I am not good at it yet. I am trying to be a person you can stand in a room with. She did not look at me while she spoke. When she finished, she did. Her eyes were level. There was no theater in them. Thank you for telling me, I said. She nodded once. We went back inside. Jason handed me my copy of the inspection sheet. He had filled out the lines with careful block letters the way he had once filled out science homework. On Sunday, the phone rang while I stood at the sink washing the one pan I had used for lunch. The caller ID put Jason's name on the screen. His voice came warm and a little careful. Can you come over for lunch, he said. We will cook, nothing big. I can, I said. I will come and I will leave when I choose. If there is a word I do not accept, I will not stay. I understand, he said. I agree. We set a time. He did not ask what dish I preferred. I did not ask what he planned to make. We said goodbye without trying to solve anything larger than a meal. Later, I took a box from the pantry shelf and opened it at the table. The new pie plate came wrapped in brown paper. It was thick glass, heavier than it looked, with a clear rim you could hold with a towel without fear. I set it in the cabinet where the old tins lived. It made a sound that felt right. On the wall near the back door, the hook for keys had a new plaque. The letters were carved shallow and filled with black. Keep your keys. I lifted my ring and let it settle. The brass and nickel chimed once and hung. The sound faded into the house the way steam fades into air. Rachel came in with groceries. She placed a carton of eggs on the counter and a paper bag that smelled like oranges and soap. Company later, she said. Family, I said. She smiled and returned to the mudroom. I stood at the table and opened the ledger again. I placed a small check mark next to the line for the month. The column looked clean. The total at the bottom did the thing I wanted it to do. I closed the book and put it away. In the garden, the afternoon settled into a long gold. Bees worked and ignored me. A neighbor laughed somewhere I could not see. I sat in a chair under the small pergola and watched the light move across the lawn by inches. The smell of roses and cut basil reached the edge of the patio and stopped there tidy and precise. The phone buzzed with a text. Jason wrote, "We will see you at 1." Brianna added a single word. "Welcome." I slipped the phone back into my pocket. The keys sat there too warm for my hand in the day. I closed my eyes for a breath. The chair held me steady. The house behind me was quiet and sure. The yard hummed its small, steady song. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.